Here's an interesting story. The IRS sent out an ominous message late last month. I'm reading from WCCO's site, telling company human resource and payroll departments to watch out. The agency, the IRS, received reports that a scam first detected last year has been revived and potentially could expose innumerable employees to tax identity theft. It's a multi-billion-dollar fraud that strips real taxpayers of their legitimate government refunds. You make the money, you pay the taxes, you have a refund coming. Somebody can step in line and get the money from you. In a related note, the National Cyber Security Alliance and Identity Theft Resource Center are urging taxpayers to take precautions to protect their personal data and file early to beat identity thieves to the punch. The IRS accepts only one tax return per Social Security number. If you file early, it gives thieves less time to make you a victim. The president of FRSecure is Evan Francine. Evan, it's John Williams. You're on WCCO. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, John. How are you?
I'm good. Boy, this is unnerving. Have you heard about this sort of scam before?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have. It's just a new twist on an existing scam with phishing and attacks like that.
But how do they? I mean, if the idea is the way I just described it and read it, I have a refund coming. How would somebody get it from me? I mean, can you talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned it, on the lead up to this talk about the IRS will only process one tax return per Social Security number. And it ends up being, a first come, first serve. So if an attacker can get your Social Security number, or, if we go after the payroll department and file the return before you do, then we'll get the return and you won't.
Really, if that's all they need, if they have my Social Security number, I guess they can impersonate me to the IRS and have them send the return to them?
Correct. Yeah, because, when we file our tax returns, we really make sure that everything is accurate. An attacker doesn't really care. So it's all fraudulent information on the tax return. Oh. The only thing that's legitimate is the Social Security number and the name.
How would they do that then? Would they say, okay, here's my Social Security number. They've stolen that number. Then they give some other address and the IRS unwittingly sends the check to the wrong place?
Yes, that's one way. Another way would be to do,
digital?
An ACH, right, to do digital and into a bank account that, the attacker controls.
I'd like to think, Evan, that the IRS had something else in place themselves to safeguard from that.
Yeah. And, to the IRS's credit, they have, done everything that they kind of can given the resources that they have. They've set up, a security summit, a real good awareness campaign. You mentioned the alert that went out to everyone about this scam. So they really have cut down fraud quite a bit. So they made it a little harder for the attackers, but the attackers then just get creative and try something new. So it's this cat and mouse.
Let me read you another paragraph. Much like so-called phishing scams, you've mentioned these, aimed at individuals, the latest tax ID theft scam uses publicly available data to track victims into providing private information. In this case, crooks attempt to lure corporate payroll departments into sending W-2 information, including all employees' names, salaries, Social Security numbers, to cyber crooks who use that data to file false tax returns en masse, stealing funds from real taxpayers. The crooks frequently pose as the company's chief executive, sending an email to the HR or payroll department requesting data on all of the company's employees. Wow.
Right. Yeah, and we've seen this happen with our own customers. It looks like it's from the CEO by all, the first glance. There's nothing that really tips it off. And the HR department wants to serve the CEO as quickly as possible and sends that information. And they're actually sending it to the attacker and not the CEO. And then the attacker has a really good return on their investment and files all those returns.
And I presume the fraudulent CEO in this case isn't saying, hey, I want to have something to do with taxes. He just maybe wants to get a total listing of all of his employees. Presumably the HR department has that, right?
Right, and that would be, a request that you would expect from a CEO.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But, I'm a CEO of FRSecure. I would never ask for the W-2s of my employees. That'd be something I'd do in person, or, you'd have to question why I would need that.
Well, I wonder what some of the red flags are. For instance, when you look at a website, if it doesn't have HTTP, isn't there supposed to be an S there to tell you that's secure or legitimate or something?
Yeah. I mean, that's one indication. I think in order to, be the best you can at kind of protecting yourself, understanding that HTTPS is one thing, looking at the address that's in, the URL that's in your browser is another. Really looking at the email and putting it into context. Is this a request that I wouldn't normally get? For instance, I would never get an email from the IRS. They don't communicate that way.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah. So, taking, kind of everything into context, and then if something doesn't feel right, listen to that and don't click. And if you do click, don't give out sensitive information after you've clicked.
Well, if you click, isn't that sometimes that's the only mistake you need to make for some of these things, right?
That's true. Yeah, for some of them, that's true. An attack that would potentially happen that way is the click is a download of malware, or you're going to a malicious website where malware is hosted, and then you get infected with something, and then they steal the information that way.
Well, I have some money I put in a Fidelity mutual fund like millions and millions of Americans do, and I have a bank account with Wells Fargo, and every now and then they'll communicate with me. And there have been times where I've been afraid to open an email from them because I think, boy, that sure looks like my bank. But I also don't, but now I'm nervous because that's the game they play. So I'm apprehensive sometimes about reading something I probably should be, Yeah,
and that's, and just personally, when I look at this, better safe than sorry. I bank at a number of different banks, and I just don't do online transactions all that much. If I do, I use something like two-factor authentication, which is one of those buzzwords that you hear, which means that they'll give me a token, or they'll, text me on my phone as a second factor of authentication.
Yeah, that's the way we do it here.
Right. And that does protect you against, the normal phishing attack.
Well, can people with their own Gmail, does everybody pretty much have access to that? Could we, in our settings, set up that sort of two-step authentication?
Yeah, absolutely. Most major, you mentioned Gmail has it, Yahoo Mail has it, your bank probably has it, and the organizations that don't have it, reach out to them and ask them why they don't, or maybe take your business elsewhere.
What do you think of, along those lines, getting the IRS to send me my money digitally? Does that put me in any jeopardy, or is that just as safe as having them send the check?
I think it's just as safe, if not maybe even safer. Because you take into account the physical risk of maybe somebody taking that check from my mailbox. Mm-hmm. If it's transferred electronically, there's a confirmation that happens, almost immediately, and I'll see it. And I'll notice something is wrong right away. Whereas if I get a mailed check, I may not know for a while.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly they can cash your check, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Whenever we pay them, either a check or digitally, that money is out of my bank account like that.
That's true. Yeah, I wish the checks that I cashed were that quick.
Can you just give us any other advice, Evan? Francine's on the phone line. President of FRSecure. There's a story at CBS News this week about not only how individuals might individually steal from you your legitimate tax return, but how they might do a wholesale sort of thing for whole companies. HR departments need to sort of be on guard. Any other general advice for us along these lines, Evan, about securing ourselves digitally?
Yeah, really, just two key words to keep in mind. One is, training, and the other is awareness, just maintaining a sense of awareness. When we work with organizations and their HR departments, it's a constant, awareness. At the end of the day, we're all human. But the more I am aware, the less the risk is. So, just constantly kind of driving that home with everybody.
Here's the last paragraph, or nearly that, in this article. Tax authorities have made a concerted effort to work with banks and corporations to stop ID thieves before they purloin funds, tax refunds. Still, the attempts persist. During the first 9 months of 2016, the IRS flagged roughly 787,000 fake returns, claiming $4 billion in refunds, and 237,000 taxpayers filed affidavits saying they, too, were victims of tax identity theft. I'm amazed. I wonder if those are people here in the United States or it's the whole planet preying on us, you know?
Well, yeah, and I think it is the whole planet, you know, honestly, because it's the human factor of information security. You know, we know that people are the biggest risk. So if I were an attacker, that's where I would go. I would attack the human part of this. But to that point, too, about the IRS kind of doing what they can, it's good to know that at least they've stopped that much. I think the next thing I'd like to see from the IRS is, you know, like that two-factor authentication we see in email. It'd be nice if the IRS had that same kind of process. And so maybe we'll see that, you know, so it's not just my Social Security number is all I need to file a tax return, but maybe there's a second factor where I actually have to validate my identity to keep an attacker from doing it on my behalf.
Yeah, no kidding. Hello, that seems like that sure seems like a good idea to me. I don't know how easy that would be to execute, but it doesn't seem like a bad way to invest their time and money to do that.
Right. Let's hope we see it.
Evan Francine, president of FRSecure. Hey, Evan, thanks for your time this evening. We sure appreciate your help. We'll reach out to you again.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate you. Yeah, likewise.